Hi, thanks for tuning in to another dose of bite-sized bits of knowledge where we give you meaningful information in a short amount of time. Today, we're continuing with intellectual property and we're talking about trademarks. So trademarks are just one of the other three areas of this body of law. In this case, trademarks are protecting, words, slogans, images, logos, and combinations of all of those things like words and logos. Sometimes logos have words on them. And so all those variations of things can be protected. They're not original works of authorship like a copyright. So it's under this other body of law called trademark. Trademark basically says that you're claiming ownership to this phrase or this image, this mark. We'll call it a mark. It could be a trademark for a product or a service mark for a service business. You're claiming ownership of that mark and you're preventing other people and businesses from using that mark in commerce. Now, trademarks have a common law protection just like the copyright, and you can be protected without registration, but you're only protected where you're using it. It gets cloudy when you're doing an e-commerce business because you could be using it everywhere, but you'd have to prove that. If you get registration, then you're presumed to be using it throughout the entire United States. So somebody using it across the country while you're using it here, there's an argument over who started first to have a carve out of liability, but you're presumed to be using it everywhere. Whereas if you don't register it and you do it here and somebody's using it here, they're free to do so after you start business. So you really want to not sit on your rights here. You want to get it registered. You want to make sure that you're maximizing your enforceability of your marks. I would recommend that you understand that when you're creating a business or creating these marks or you're creating these slogans, certainly if they're foundational to your business, you want to make sure that you're not immediately starting out infringing on another person or business's rights. You can go to the uspto.gov website and search marks and do what's called a knockout search, where you can see if the exact same thing that you're trying to do exists as an existing mark. But I call it a knockout search because all that does is confirm that the exact same thing exists. Now, the standard for trademarks is not the exact same thing. The standard for trademarks is, does it cause substantial consumer confusion? Substantial consumer confusion. That's an issue of fact that a jury would have to decide. And so if basically what that means in English is that, does your mark, is it so confusingly similar that it makes people reasonably believe that it's from another source, like a more known source? If you try to use Coke or Amazon, it's pretty obvious. But if you try to make a variation of it or with their style of their font and their color, that might make people think it's from Coke. And if it makes people think it's from Coke, then they're being falsely led to believe that it has a quality and reputation and brand about it that it doesn't, and that's actionable. So you need to be careful. There's lawyers that focus exclusively on this area. They do searches, they make recommendations of what you should and should not do. Just suffice to say, you need to be careful. You need to do your due diligence before you make things, because these things are actionable. Just a couple examples. Of course, I mentioned Amazon, Coke. Think of a Nike swoosh, the little check mark. Those are icons, those are trademarks, those are things you can't just put on a t-shirt and sell it without a permission. Think about, clothing, in general, getting the designs or toys, toys that use the like construction vehicles for kids, like Caterpillar, they're Caterpillar toys. Well, those are licensed names that are going on those toys. Those are not probably made by Caterpillar, who makes actual equipment. So you got to just think it through, make sure you're getting the right advice you need, and do it up front, because you will pay for it later in many circumstances. So the next video, we're going to talk about patents. So thank you again for stopping by. Don't forget to download our free business planning stress test. It's linked below in the description, and stay tuned for more. Thank you.
Haimo.